parish mission. But because it is 7 o'clock, I would like to start right on time. And as people continue to walk in, they certainly can, and no detentions this evening. I was looking for some Brinks guards because of my candy corn stash there and in the car, but I want to thank everyone who brought me some sweets. But let's begin this final evening, and perhaps this is the conference that will challenge you the most, that will challenge each one of us the most. There was a couple, and this couple were Hank and Bessie. For years they wanted to buy a new home, and they finally did. And their home was beautiful, beautiful to perfection, because Bessie was a perfectionist. She liked everything just so. All of a sudden, they have a bay window in the kitchen. Hank and Bessie eat there every morning for breakfast. Bessie looks out the window and says, "Oh my God, Hank, look out the window now, would you? Look at that. Could you imagine that? Look at that." And Hank drops his paper, looks out the window, thinking there's a robber in the backyard, and he turns to his wife and says, "Bessie, that's a woman hanging her laundry next door." And Bessie sits at the end of the chair and says, "Hank, didn't I ask you now to be looking at her? You're not looking, because if you were looking, you would see that that laundry is dingy. It's not only dingy, it's dirty. I wonder that woman doesn't know how to wash laundry at all." Hank responded as he had for the past close to 60 years of marriage. Day after day, this continues. A few days later, Bessie again. "Oh my God, Hank, you've got to look now. Those clothes are dingier and dirtier than they were a week ago. I want you to go and take our detergent. I want you to go and put the detergent by the front door, ring the doorbell, and run back home. Will you do that now, Hank?" And Hank gave a look, and he said, "No, I will not do that." Day after day, several weeks go by. Hank decided that he would sit in the front room of the house for breakfast instead of the bay window area of the kitchen. All of a sudden, there goes Bessie again. Hank, now hurry now, would you? Indeed, you've got to hurry. You don't want to miss this." Hank said, "What could I possibly miss, Bessie? What could I possibly miss?" But he came running. And all of a sudden, Bessie goes, "Look, the laundry. Don't you see?" And Hank says, "It's the same kind of clothes they've been hanging for days. Don't you see? They're clean, every bit of it. They're shining, they're white. Tell me now, Hank, tell me, didn't you go and put our laundry box by the front door?" Hank beamed with a big smile, put his hands on the shoulders of his wife and said, "No, I didn't put our laundry on the front porch. I washed our windows." Isn't this the story of our lives? When sometimes we see things, we judge things, we make a judgment call on someone, and the difficulty isn't with someone else, the difficulty is with us. Sometimes, see if you fit in this category. Do you ever find yourself looking at life from a negative light instead of a positive light? Example, you're driving by a beautiful highway, freeway, and all you notice are the potholes. Never the beauty, never the scenery, never the sun, never the clouds, never the sky. You go into someone's home. It is an absolutely gorgeous home, beautiful home. The decor of the home is breathtaking. And then you have someone who goes into the home and notices a small scratch in the entrance hallway. And then when they're asked, well, what did you think of so-and-so's home? Oh, you should have seen. There was such a scratch on the floor. Or, have you ever had a boss who made a mistake, didn't answer a question, didn't do the right thing, and all you're doing is finding the negative in that boss and never looking at the positive? There was a man who was driving his car to work, and this guy was late. He was delayed. He had to get to work in a hurry to get there in time. And just as you would have it, all of a sudden, bam, he has a fender bender with a woman. He jumps out of his car, angry, yelling, pounding on the glass door of the woman's car, saying, "Where did you get your license? Who taught you how to drive? I can't believe they leave you on the road. And I can't believe you're the fourth person that hit me today." God tries to find ways to give us a wake-up call. 4 accidents in one day? Can so many people find you and clash with you? Or maybe it is your own driving. At some point, we have to look at ourselves, because we're talking about readying ourselves for that final chapter of life. We're talking about taking a big bite out of every single day of our lives. We're talking about treasuring our time, a time which is not repeatable, and being judged in one area alone, and that area is love. We need to be able to ask ourselves, am I becoming negative? Am I becoming critical? Am I becoming sarcastic? Is everything wrong with this situation? Is everything wrong with this particular person, that particular group? We have to understand, as we heard last night, that relationships are your life. Love is what matters, and the love you pour into every relationship in your life matters. And yet, we see that when we're negative, sharp, critical, sarcastic, it has a tendency of killing relationships, weakening relationships, causing huge chasms between people that you almost can't find a way to bridge the relationship. This is a true story I'm going to share with you. There was a gentleman who worked very hard for his company, and he retired. But you know what he did? He identified who he was by his work, who he was by his job. And when he retired, he felt as though he had no purpose in life, that he had no value in his day, and no value even within himself. And then he began to watch his wife and watch others around him, criticizing what they did, how they did it, or what they didn't do. It's breakfast time. His wife goes and asks, "Hon, what would you like for breakfast?" "I don't know." In the meantime, she got his orange juice with just the right amount, brewed the coffee just the way he liked it, came back and said, "Well, what would you like for breakfast?" "I want toast, and I want 2 eggs. I want one easy over, and the other egg fried." Well, his wife controlled her facial expression and said, "Fine." She went and she made the eggs. Beautifully, eggs easy over. It's an art to leave that yolk just right. Put them on plate, put the toast on the plate, the marmalade, the butter, laid it before him, and he said, "I knew it." And she said, "What do you mean you know it?" "I knew you would do what you did." And she said, "Well, what did I do?" And he said, "You fried the wrong egg." Who would think she didn't have that frying pan in her hand? Some people become so critical-minded that no matter what is done for them, it's not right. It's not right. What do we do in situations like this? What do we do when we encounter people who have such a negativity? What do we do if we ourselves are those people? We have to learn to break habits. We need to change our attitude. We need to begin to focus on the good and the beautiful qualities that each person has. Because when somebody is critical, or quick-tempered, or reactive in a negative way, what we tend to do is focus in on that negativity. And we get tunnel vision, so that we come to a point we no longer see or understand or recognize the good and the beautiful. During this mission, we have to begin to discover anew, to appreciate everyone God sends into our life every single day. We need to be able to look and understand that every one of us in this church, every one of us on this earth have faults, have failures, have areas where we need to continue to grow. And what we have to ask in all our relationships with others is, and take it to prayer, and I'm serious, take it to prayer. Especially list in your own heart, in your own mind, people that you are struggling with in your relationship. Whether it is a spouse, whether it is a neighbor, whether it is a son-in-law, daughter-in-law, child, your own child, someone where you work, it doesn't matter. Take the time to look at these people. Take the time to find what is positive and good and where they're gifted. And for some of you, you might have to spend a bit of time with this because you've gotten into a habit of only seeing what's missing and what's broken and what's negative. But you have to change that attitude and stretch yourself to say, but what is beautiful about this person? God will unfold that beauty for you. Sometimes we can begin to be nags. You never take out the trash. You never wipe the dishes. You never wash the dishes. You always leave the last drop of milk in that half gallon in the fridge, and I always have to clean it up. We could go on and on with our negativity and our nagging. If there's one thing you must understand, and one thing you must know, you will never change another person. And because it's late in the evening, I will repeat it. You will never change another person. But you don't have the power to do it. But you do have tremendous power over how much you will allow another person to control you. If somebody comes at you with a negative statement, our first human reaction is to come right back really quick with another negative statement. And it can become a battle. Instead, we need to recognize everyone has their own faults. And we have to ask ourselves, what am I magnifying in that person? Am I only focusing on where they're broken or weak? Or can I find something good and positive that I can honestly affirm them for? Honestly affirm them for. Because to be that sweet talking, just saying it because it's the nice thing to say, will be recognized immediately. You have to find the good and the beautiful in others. So what do we do critical spirit, a negative spirit. Number one, we wash our windows. We ask God for the grace to really see, not through our own hurts and our own losses and our own problems and our own stubbornness, but to see as God sees. And these 3 nights we've looked at the splendor of this love of this God of ours. He doesn't pick and choose who he loves. Thank God. He loves every single one of us. And his love is unconditional. So we need to wash the windows. And when you feel an anger rising in you, to make a sarcastic statement, or to gossip, or to highlight something which is negative, catch yourself and say, have I washed my windows? Do I see where this person may be coming from? Do I know why they are the way they are? And on the other hand, am I reading them correctly at all? Or am I the one who's angry? And I'm the one short-sighted? And I'm the one who's always coming back? Secondly, we can develop a habit to be positive or to be negative. We can develop a habit in our relationship with others to see the good and the beautiful or the bad and the ugly. And we need to take time to pray and ask ourselves, which side of that fence am I on? Are there a particular person or group or people that I always seem to just see their faults? Then those are the prime targets that God is stirring you to wash your windows with. And to begin to step apart, step by step, make a list of their qualities that are good, their talents that are real, and capitalize on those in speaking with them. You can't change another person, but don't let another person paralyze you and become the very thing that you do not like in that person. Psychologists tell us that when there is something that really gets under our skin, that really needles us, that we really don't like about someone, often it's because there's a little mini reflection of a part of who we are in them. That's something to take home. That's something to pray about, you know? What is it sometimes that agitates us in another person? It may be something that we ourselves are struggling with. So again, catch yourself, look for the positive, and from that point, you will see changes occurring in your own life. You'll be able to see with greater clarity, see with greater joy, and have a more beautiful beginning to each day. I want to speak just a few minutes about something which is so important. God's invitation to every single one of us to be a servant. To be a servant. To be God's servant. And what does it mean to be a servant? To be a servant is to serve this God of ours by serving others. Because that's the whole purpose of our life. The whole purpose of our life is to give God the freedom and the access to touch every part of us so that every part of us can go through that window washing, so we can let go of excess baggage of things that have happened a month ago, 6 months ago, 10 years ago, or 23 years ago, or 50 years ago, that we still can't let go of, and that somehow limits the beauty of who we are. This God of ours desires so much for us to be free, because in freely receiving his love, we will freely be able to give it in our service to others. Any one of us in this church can be a servant. Every single one of us can be a servant. Sometimes we sit back and say, but what could I bring? How could I change people? How could I change this world of ours? All it requires is openness to this God of ours. Let his love flow in us and through us to others. Be a person of character. Be a person that looks for the good, that looks for the talent, that looks for the beauty, and that has a way of drawing that beauty out of others. Because we have the ability to see in others often what they can't see in themselves. Do you know it is absolutely possible for priests, religious, married and single lay people to be of service in the church and not really be a servant? Because sometimes our service isn't given out of a motivation of love. It's given out of a selfish motivation. A selfish motivation that makes us recognized, noted, commended for what we do. A servant of God means I have to have a servant's heart. How do you know if you have the heart of a servant? Jesus tells us you can tell what they are by what they do. Real servants make themselves available to other people. And remember, as I shared before in previous conferences, nothing is a coincidence with this God of ours. In the smallest and simplest ways, the people he puts into our day, these interruptions we sometimes see them as, are the very heart of why we're breathing that day. We're meant to be attuned to them. If you only serve when it's convenient for you, you are not a servant of God. Right now, let me ask you, how many in this church have a cell phone? Raise your hand. How many with your cell phone do you have caller ID? My phone rings, and I put it back in my pocket. That's an option we have, isn't it? Isn't it? Somebody texts. Somebody rings the doorbell, and you've artfully learned how to pull your drapes without the recognition from that area of the front door. And you pretend you are not home. You're in a shopping mall, all of a sudden you see someone, and this person tends to talk long. So you do the sin of omission. You don't see. To be a servant, to be the presence and face of love to others each day. You cannot pick and choose with your own convenience when you will serve and when you will not. Love doesn't give you the option to choose when to be there and when to pretend you don't see. So I question you, because this is a conference of questions. Are you available to God anytime, of any day, at any moment? Are you open to allow God to mess up your day? To take, your carefully planned day, because you know exactly where you want to be and what you want to do and what you want to achieve. Will you allow him to mess up your plans without becoming resentful? I gave an example this morning, and I'll share it honestly with you. I'm a humble nun, so I can just share it. I'm on my way to my specialist, a doctor. He's in Long Island. I'm in Westchester County in New York. I've got to go on the Hutchinson Parkway. I have to get on to 95. I've done it a zillion times. I'm on the Hutch, so close to the exit for 95, and I always cross this bridge. And people told me it's a drawbridge. And I said, geez, I've never seen the drawbridge open, I've never stopped by that. I left late for the doctor, and I knew I hit traffic. I go, and would you believe, a mile-long barge had to come through. So they put the drawbridge up. We're at a stoplight. So, of course, I'm going to use this time to pray. I'm going to use this time to see the beauty of the day. No way. I was sitting there actually hitting the steering wheel, saying, I don't believe this. Now, I'm alone, you know, except for JC. You know, my husband's always with me, you know. I still don't understand him over 40 years of marriage. But anyway, all right, I'm hitting the steering wheel, but I can't believe this. I'm talking to the barge. Would you move it? Would you move it? I'm looking at the red light, and I'm saying, come on, change. I'm looking at the people ahead of me already, because I'm a proactive nun, I am. When that light changes, you people better move. I must have so escalated my blood pressure. My heart was throbbing. I had a headache. And then all of a sudden, JC gave me a moment of awakening. And his message was simple and direct. What kind of fool are you? Yeah, how crazy is this? That barge going through, that bridge isn't going to come down until the barge is through. The light is going to change when the bridge is drawn together. The people ahead of me are probably just as agitated as me. They want to get on the other side too. What I'm trying to say is we need to be real in the holiness of our life. We need to see how the littlest things can fragment us, shred us, and impact our day in such a negative way. I went to the doctor. The doctor said, you have high blood pressure. And I said, no, I don't. There I am talking to the doctor. And you go, whoa, And as I hit a drawbridge, I thought there might be something. You do not get to pick and choose how to serve. God gave me some space. I was very busy that day. He gave me some additional time to see beauty. And all I saw was my way. I need to be where I need to be. And like the dirty windows, I blocked everything out. Being a servant means giving up control, the right to control your own schedule, and allowing God to interrupt it in any way He chooses to, in any way He needs to. This is what it means to be God's servant. You have to remind yourself every single day you get out of bed, you are God's servant. And your key job in ministry is to be the face of love in your day, to yourself as well as to others. Servants again see these interruptions as divine appointments. I have to share this story because it brings across beautifully this next point. There was a little boy, and his name was Timmy. He lived in a farming area. He was very short of stature because he was a little boy. He was passing by one of the farms, and there was a picket fence quite high, and he heard the yipping and yapping of little puppies. And it got his curiosity. So he's holding on to the top of the picket fence. He's raising himself up on his tippy toes, and he could just see over. And there were 7 beautiful little puppies. And they're playing with each other and rolling and making all the cute noises that puppies do. And the little boy was delighted. Oh, he wanted a puppy. How he wanted one of those. And all of a sudden the farmer began walking toward the gate of the picket fence. And he had in his hand a for sale sign, puppies. And he was going to hammer it into the ground by the road. He sees the little boy straining to see and to look at the puppies. He sees the delight on the little boy's face. So he says to him, "Hey, for the puppies. I have to get rid of them, he said. We have too many dogs on the farm already. Do you think you could do me a favor? And little Timmy said yes. He thought maybe to help with the puppies. Would you take one? Then it would be one less puppy that I would have to sell. Timmy was elated. He actually began to cry. And immediately the farmer said, pick one out, son, pick one out. And they're playing every which way, 6 of them. The 7th one tried to get in on the play, but he was very weak. He was very little. He was the runt of the litter. And he had quite a very noticeable limp as he struggled to get by his little brothers and sisters. And he always kind of got shoved out of the way. The farmer says, which one would you like? Timmy points to that 7th puppy. And the farmer picked up 2 very healthy puppies, beautiful puppies, and said, now son, I want you to look at the puppies again. This one was the runt, the last born. He limps. I don't even know if he's going to be able to run and play with you. Please, choose another one. Timmy said, I want that one. He opens the gate to let the little boy in to get the puppy. To his shock and surprise, Timmy had a prosthetic leg. He had lost the lower portion of his leg to bone cancer. Timmy began to slightly limp as he approached the little boxed cage where the puppies were. Timmy looked up at the man and he said, I want this puppy because this puppy needs special love. The man began to cry. The man began to cry. Real servants pay attention to needs. Whether you're at Rite Aid, whether you're in a movie theater, whether you're at a show, whether you're at a mall, whether you're at home in a family gathering, a real servant watches people heart to heart. And they can tell in the expression of someone's face whether they could lead or need a lift, a smile, laughter, company. Servants are always on the lookout for helping others, touching the lives of others. So often we miss the many occasions God puts in our lives each day because we lack sensitivity. We lack spontaneity. We don't want to let go of our schedule because we want it done our way. Our day, our way. Real servants do the best with what they have. I'm getting point to the closing of this, and I want to share a quickie about Millie. True story. Millie is 103 years old. She lives in an assisted living facility for those who are aged or infirm. Millie is the life of the party. Sharp, quick-wit. She has a way of making everyone laugh. She has a way of bringing joy into the lives of others who often their lives are whatever it is in that nursing facility. They don't get out much, and some don't have family or family that visit them. Millie fell in her room. She was rushed to the hospital, and everyone in that nursing home, that assisted living, became very alarmed, very worried. And then they began saying the things that sometimes older people can say. Oh, did you hear? Millie fell. Millie fell. Well, you know what it means when someone falls. Oh, broken hip? Probably. Will they walk? Usually they don't. usually a broken hymn, is the beginning of an end. They're talking and talking and talking like this. Finally, they get one of the women to call Millie after a couple of days of hospitalization. And she calls very alarmed, very concerned, and says, Millie, Millie, we've been praying for you. We miss you. You fell hard. And Millie said, oh yeah, I fell hard. Well, you know, Millie, did they do tests? Do they have a sense of what made you fall? Dizzy? Tumor? Cancer? And Millie quickly caught the vein of Agnes's concerns. And she said, Agnes, well, now Agnes is really glued to the phone. Let me share with you. You know, they're doing many tests. And so far, they were able to rule out one thing. And Agnes, she can't wait to tell everyone else. She goes, and what is it, Millie? She said, I'm not pregnant. In every moment, in every circumstance, in every encounter with others, can we be the lilt of laughter? Can we be a light in darkness? Can we be on the giving end of the love of this God of ours? Because in the evening of life, at that moment when we approach that final chapter, that transition, that moment of being freed from the shell that holds the beauty of who we are, when we're asked by this God of ours, not with what we accomplished, or the money we've earned, or the achievements we have, but simply saying, were you a loving person? Did you share generously the love I so generously gifted you with each day? So to close, may your attitude be open. May your windows be washed. May you not be too hard on yourselves. May you not be too hard on others. When you are down and drawn, anxious and worn, don't look at what is broken. Look at the beauty of what you have. When another comes at you, think in your heart, this is God's divine interruption. How does God desire to speak his love to that person today, in and through me? Find the positive, embrace the positive, and you will embrace the secret of life, which is love. And I close with Teresa of Avila's beautiful and my most beloved saying of this doctor of the church, first female doctor of the church. She said, the greatest hell on earth is not to be at home in your own house. She wasn't talking about a structure of a house. Teresa of Avila was saying, if you are not at home within yourself, if you do not have peace within yourself, if you do not have love and happiness within yourself, you'll walk with dirty windows and you will never see the beauty of life. God bless you and thank you. It's been a joy to be part of your family.
Thank you.